Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Being a marketer's no sweat. You just have to manage dozens of channels, launch hundreds of campaigns, score thousands of leads, and okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. Unless you have HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools to help you do all that and more. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
Imagine what's possible when learning doesn't get in the way of life. At Capella University, our game-changing FlexPath learning format lets you set your own deadlines so you can learn at a time and pace that works for you. It's an education you can tailor to your schedule. That means you don't have to put your life on hold to pursue your professional goals. Instead, enjoy learning your way and earn your degree without missing a beat. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Blame Me. Today, we have everybody's favorite guest, our favorite guest, the guest that I am so confident would be on the podcast. I definitely forgot to ask her for 2 weeks. Aislinn Paul.
Hi. Yeah. Gosh, it's so validating every time I come here and you guys are like, everyone's favorite guest. And I'm like, do go on.
Well, we've been over this where someone has been asking, which I know you're watching, has been asking if you can host the podcast. And like, I was like, and you responded to the comment, like, well, no, we've had Aislinn as a guest. Like, no, I just mean like replace Megan and have her host instead.
Yeah.
I'm sure our sponsors would be like, what is happening here? You do all the ad reads, everything.
It would be...
I don't know how I'd pay you.
Yeah, and it would also be like almost the exact same thing except for just with ad reads would be the difference.
Yeah. No, it would pretty much be the same. Also, if I was Megan and then Megan wasn't here, the dynamic would be totally off. I'm way less funny when Megan's not around.
Would I not be your guest? Like, we would just switch.
I would just have you as the guest.
You would just say, hey, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You have to memorize the phone number.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I have not done that. And
it took me a long time. But yeah, I'm excited you're here. This is gonna be so great and good and easy. Moss asked me this morning. He was like, "Who's on?" And I was like, "Aislinn." He's like, "Oh," as in like he's like, "Who are you meeting today?" And I was like, #no new friends.
Yeah, and now you had a tie with Leo as the most. And
we didn't tell you.
Yeah,
but you were in competition. But then we got you back on real quick, so you kept your title.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. If Leo stole that title from me, I would.
No. It was tied. It was tied.
It was tied. But we didn't want you to. I knew you would want it.
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be like a month and a half after. But as far as like recording, it's only a couple weeks.
Yeah, he was pretty excited. Which I think it's valid that you guys would be my most my #1 guests. You know, the male version of me, the better version of me.
Whoa,
you're the better version.
No.
Way nicer.
No,
way nicer.
I didn't drink enough milk as a kid to be the better version of you. I need to be way taller.
Neither did I, though.
I drank a ton of milk, and I mean, we're the same height.
I know. It was such a lie. They told us such lies as kids.
The food pyramid was a scam.
It was a scam, and it was a scam by the dairy industry.
Yeah, I know. I remember even when I was in kindergarten, this is such a random story, but when I was in kindergarten, I hated milk from like my youth, and they would only feed us cheese and crackers and milk. And I was like, don't want it. But they obviously are going to force a 4-year-old to eat food. They're not going to care what you care about. So that was the first lie I ever told, was that I told them that I was lactose intolerant. And then they gave me water. Like,
yeah, which is so much. Or like the idea that I never understood is like milk or juice. And it was like, so either if you are lactose intolerant, you're going to be like a 7-year-old with diarrhea, or we're just going to spike your blood sugar and then you're going to crash.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, guys. Well, welcome to the podcast. I've already welcomed you, but consider this your second welcome. This is an advice podcast. If you're new here, welcome all aboard. Auga, choo choo.
Oh, God.
Wait, what was it? Wait, not to I used to do this in high school. My friend said, like, not to toot my own horn, but auga.
Not toot toot.
No, auga's just a little more like forceful.
I see.
Like auga. Also, I think there's a cartoon where that was like
well, that's
a foghorn on something.
Yeah, but that's when the eyes pop out. So,
Oh yeah.
that's when the eyes
Rover?
pop out, and it's no.
Tasmanian
Who is
devil?
it? Popeye.
Popeye?
Like when he sees olive oil. No.
It is the Howling Wolf.
Wow, we've completely aged ourselves. Everybody's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. The Fairly Odd Parents is a vintage show.
I love Fairly
That
Odd
in black and
Parents.
white.
Yeah.
Odd Parents, Fairly Odd. Okay, can we get copyright? We can probably still get copyright. Okay, guys. Well, anyway, this is a call-in podcast. So
Even though it's very not clear at this point that it's a call-in, there will be calls.
there will be calls. I fucking promise. It's coming. But before that, I have to tell you the number. The number is 310-694-0976. And there you guys can just leave us voicemails and ask us questions, and we'll give you some advice. And then our international callers, like Canadians, AA.
Hey.
Shout out to Aislinn. She's Canadian. You can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. Shall we get it started hot? Let's get it started in here.
I am 24 years old, and I am calling because I need some professional advice. I am currently working at a job. I've been working here for 3 years now. I absolutely love it. I love working with animals, and this job is mainly focused on working with animals and education, and I really love that. But it's not exactly in the field that I want my career to go in, and it is also, I'm living in my hometown, and I really hate my hometown, and I'm really looking to move out west. And there's a lot more opportunities with the career that I want out west. So my dream is to move out there. And so my husband and I are planning to move out there in about 6 to 9 months. That is our plan right now. The only problem is that the job that I work at right now is really small. The only other full-time position that works there is my boss, who I get along with super well. But she definitely needs me to keep the business up and running. And I love her and I love working with her, but this is just not what I want. And I am really just ready for a change. And so I just need some advice on how I am going to be able to quit this job in a way that, you know, I don't want to give her too much notice, because, you know, if it doesn't work out, if I need to stay for another year or so, I don't want to end up jobless while we're still in my hometown. So I just want to know, like, when's the appropriate time to bring that up, when I should, you know, let her know that should I wait to let her know until I get another job out west? I want to give her as much notice as possible, because I don't want her, like, drowning in the amount of work that she has to do, but I also don't want to lose my job too quickly. So if you have any advice, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Bye.
This is both tough and also not, because in many ways your mind is made up and you know what you want. So it's not even about grappling with how, like, what you're going to do next. You have this plan and you know what you want. It's just about you not wanting to put your boss in a bad spot, and also hopefully not have any issues for yourself down the line. I think what you were saying about maybe looking into other work out west and having that plan a bit more finalized before you bring up notice is a good idea. I also am not clear on how much training and speciality you have to have in this area for the job that you currently have. But depending on that, if it's going to be really hard for your boss to find someone to replace you, more notice is nice. But if it's the kind of thing where, like, somebody who is either in college or university or something could then take on that job, and they don't really need prior experience in the area or something, I don't think you need to worry as much. And I get, you know, you really care about your boss, and that's awesome. Clearly she's made a really good work environment for you. But I think don't worry too much about what positions she's going to be in, because you have to think about your life first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I think my exact thoughts were, you should have your other job totally set up, because as much as, like, you really respect your boss, and I'm sure your boss respects you, like you are right in the sense that like you're not putting her in a bad spot. Like it's kind of an inevitable spot that she's going to be put in eventually. Like I think anyone who doesn't like anyone who works, but like when you're an employer and people work below you, like you have to know at a certain point, like those people aren't going to be around forever. But you don't want to put yourself in a position where if the other jobs don't necessarily pan out in the time that you want them to, that you're in like a hostile work environment or there's like resentment and stuff like that. So I would say just in general, I am a big believer in like setting up those like safety nets and like having something that you're going to be going towards. And especially because the other jobs that you want to apply for and where it involves you moving. So there has to be a level of like a specific amount of time in general. Like it's not that you're going to like get a job and start immediately and start the next day. Like it's going to require a move. So you're a future employer, like that's going to be a conversation. So I think when you talk to employers in telling them like, yes, I am located here, but like I am interested in a position that would involve me moving. Like I would just need like however much notice there is. And then I would also figure out exactly what the notice is legally that you need to give your boss in your field.
Which would be 2 weeks usually for most jobs.
But there's really no legal, like you can up and leave whenever like you want. It's just a nice thing to do.
Yeah. And I would also say, I think like if it requires, at least like I know from like my boyfriend changing jobs, it's a lot of like, even when he like left a job and got into a new job, it was there's that transition phase where if you have to train somebody and if you're able to like, once you have your other job set up, and you're able to then do outreach and like help your boss find your replacement. And so that I think like for a peace of mind could help you feel when you're obviously still working at that place, like help you feel a little bit less like you're like abandoning her in a bad spot, is that you have like all of the training that you have had, you can then like impart that knowledge on to, or at least like start to impart that knowledge onto whoever's going to take over your position. And it's also not your responsibility to be like so worried about her. But I think you like you said, like I think you've got such a great mindset because you're not grappling with it. Like your mind is already made up and like the decision is made up. So I just think like best way to go about it is secure another job. And as soon as you secure that other job, and not like a soft offer, like anything like that, like as soon as it's secured, you have like put your notice in to move from your apartment or wherever you're moving, and you have signed a lease at the new place that you're going to move. Your car is like, you're getting ready and like you're starting to, there are like actual real solid plans. That's when I think that you should tell her, because I agree you shouldn't give her so much notice that like if something falls through, but not like, hey, by the way, I'm leaving tomorrow on a jet plane or in a car.
Yeah. And also, was there someone in your position before you started? Did she train you? Because if she trained you, then it should just be the same for when the next person comes in. She should just train the next person.
And even if not, there's only so much you can do. I think what we're saying of like giving a fair amount of notice, offering to help find a new applicant, train them if possible, all those things, when you put all those things on the table and you offer them and you're like very gracious and you say thank you for the opportunity to work here and all that, if she turns around and then makes that and gets mad at you for leaving, there was nothing you were going to ever be able to do. No matter how much notice you gave, like she was going to get upset. So, and that's not your responsibility because it's her business and it's not yours. And so as long as you have your plan ready to go, then I think, try not to worry too much about it.
But if you did like sign a contract that said that you would give more notice, then you do need to take that into account.
Double
That's
check
the only
on
way.
Read your contracts, people. Read the fine print.
Dot the I's, cross the T's.
Terms and conditions apply.
Hi, Megan. I am 24 years old, and I'm calling about my little sister who is 17 and has been blindly in love for 2 years with the same wrong guy. So keep in mind that I know that you're an only child. Talk about it all the time on the podcast. But I talk to my little sister like she's my best friend. So we have a very open and honest relationship. Backtracking. My sister's been dating the same guy since she was 15 and he was 17, which makes her 17 and him 19 now. So they're still babies. Understand that. Babies. So when they started dating, my parents didn't have the best opinion of him, and they still don't. They think that he's kind of a punk kid who doesn't really have any goals, and the Southern saying is he thinks his shit doesn't stink. And I don't think that he's pretentious. I just think that he thinks very highly of what he knows he can do. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Now, my sister's assured me for 2 years now that my parents are wrong. They have the wrong opinion of him. And I've met him enough times to go, oh, okay, I think he's just a kid, and my parents just don't like teenagers, I'm guessing. But that was, again, in the beginning when we were actually living in the town where they met. We are all now living 2 hours away from that town, so they're doing long distance. But they've been dating for 2 years, and they've been doing about 6 months long distance. And I do not see this working out well for her. He decided he didn't want to go to college, which is fine, but he's just comfortable living in that same little town that's 2 hours away from where we are now. And he's going to stay there and work the same part-time job the rest of his life. And sometimes that works for people, but I really don't think that's going to work for my sister. She's super goal-oriented, wants to save the planet, and I love that about her. And she insists that no matter what, she'll never give up on her dreams for him. But she's also telling me things like, oh, when I graduate, he's going to come out and he's going to live in this town while I go to college. And he's going to get a big job. And I'm like, I can only tell her, sweetheart, I don't think that's going to work out so many times before she starts just lying to me or not telling me things, which is what I'm afraid will happen. So what can I do to give her the best advice I can and keep her from being blindsided if the relationship doesn't work out? What can I do with that? Because I don't want her to not trust me and not talk to me because I don't like the kid. But I also don't want her to end up getting hurt because I just kept my opinion to myself. Anyway, thanks a lot.
I mean, first things first, I don't think you've kept your opinions to yourself.
It sounds like she's got an idea that the family's not crazy about him.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Your sister sounds like, minus this dude, she sounds like an awesome kid. Mm-hmm. She sounds like she's got plans for her future. She's got ideas of what she wants to do. She wants to go to college. She's got all these things that she is planning and will not change for his sake. And that's the only time that I think you need to worry is if suddenly she was like, yeah, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to move back to that town. We're going to get married and have babies. If that's not that there's anything wrong with that, but if it suddenly is changing what she thinks of for her future in order to accommodate him and make him feel more masculine, and though he's the head of the household, and though she has to dim herself and her future plans in order to keep him happy, that's when I think you have to say something. But right now, he seems as a partner for her, it seems to be willing to let her move away and go do these things and have these goals. And if she's still pursuing those things, I think she's got a good head on her shoulders. And I think just concentrate your advice on her future and what she wants to do. Sure, she'll bring up the boyfriend and be like, oh yeah, and then he'll come visit on the weekends when I'm a freshman. And you can just nod your head and say, yeah, sure. I'm sure he will. And whatever happens, happens. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop her from getting hurt. Yeah. Because they're already 2 years deep into this relationship. It will be her first heartbreak. Mm-hmm. That's just, unless, he magically steps up and becomes a great guy and then they get married. I don't know. We can't really tell, but most likely based on stats, they will break up, and whether she's the one who decides to end it or he does, it'll still hurt and she'll still be hurt. And I think you're a lovely sister for caring that much and wanting to stop her from getting hurt by any means necessary. But that's just, it's not going to happen. She will get hurt. That's inevitable. Yeah.
And I think also think highly enough of your sister that she's not going to let this guy be the one who brings her down or changes her dreams or things like that.
Compromise her life.
Yeah. Because the way that you talk about her and how great she is, if she's that great and she's that smart, guys don't have magic dicks. They don't completely oh my God. Sure, smart girls can be, and I consider myself a somewhat smart person on occasion in certain fields. But I've been with plenty of dumb guys, and and it's something that is unavoidable. Also, sometimes it's like, not that it's like, sometimes it's like a conscious decision. Sometimes it's like there's something that you want to be with someone and you like them, even though like on paper or what you see for what other people see for your future, like you're never going to see what she sees in him. And also like the way you keep referring to him as a kid, he is totally still a kid. And the idea that like just because right now he decided not to go to college and he decided to have this job, like it's a little fucked up to say like he's gonna have this job for the rest of his life. You don't know that. Like this guy can also surprise you too. But like if you have this like incredibly negative image of him, even if he starts to change and grow, and like we know boys do it so much slower than girls, and even if he does all of that, if you have this idea of him, that he's never going to be able to like get past that negative image you have of him painted. And I mean, I've not always liked the people that my friends have dated.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, that Megan and I talk about this a lot, that there have been times where our close friends, which is not the same as siblings, but like still, you're really close.
And we're both only children, so we're like, no, you are our siblings.
Yeah, basically. There are times when you don't like those partners, but I've realized that the only time that I feel comfortable saying something is if I believe that treatment or the things I don't like about them are directly related to the treatment of my friend. When it's just a question of like our personalities don't clash or do clash, or I think like they're kind of lame and I don't really enjoy their company, that's a personal opinion. And you can see so much more from the outside of a relationship than you can when you're in it. And I think, you know, to a certain extent, you just have to let your sister get what she needs to out of this relationship.
Yeah. And I'm a big proponent in like, my friends' boyfriends, the only service that they provide to my life and the only thing that I care about, not really the only thing, like, cause yeah, I definitely like haven't always liked them, but like the thing that it always boils down to, I'm like, as long as you make my friend happy, as long as they are happy, and as long as your sister is happy, your opinions on him, because it's not what you see for her or you're thinking 10 years down the road, that's okay and that's fine. But also, as much as you see, if this relationship is totally stagnant in like the way that both of their like everything happened, if it stays like this for the next 10 years, but you have to remember that they are young, both of them are going to grow and evolve, and their relationship is going to grow and evolve, that the idea that like you're so afraid that like in a couple years time, these plans that she has, like they're not going to happen because of what you're seeing right now. Give them both a little bit, cut them both some slack. And I think just being supportive for her, because also, like you said, the more opinion and negative like feelings that you have towards him that you give her, all that's going to do is make her want to prove everybody wrong, and is not going to make her be able to feel close and talk to you about it when she does feel shitty. Because that's something that I've learned when I've expressed my feelings about friends' partners, and then they no longer talk to me about them. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, okay, I cut off that line of communication. Now you don't feel like I'm a safe place. And so when you're going through drama or you're like having difficulties, you don't feel like you can come to me because I'm going to make it bigger than it actually is, or
say I told you so, and that's not what anyone wants to hear.
So I think you just need to like trust her. And I think like you said, like if you start to see that like she's being really unhappy or she's doing things like really out of character, she also might like grow and realize that she wants to do something different or anything like that. I'm just not putting her on this pedestal, because then there's going to be nobody who you think is like going to be deserving of her, when in reality, like the ultimate goal is that like she is happy. And as much as we have ideas of who we think are going to make people happy, there are I definitely even had ideas for myself of what was going to make me incredibly happy in a relationship, and like character traits and who that person would be. And especially when it's an outside opinion, like you don't really know what it is that is so important to each other.
Yeah, I've been in this situation with my younger sister, same age. She was dating somebody when she was 17 for a couple years. And he was a piece of shit. He was a couple years older. He was actually my age, and I couldn't stand him. I didn't like him before they started dating. Like, I'd known him for years. And in the beginning, I made it very known how much I did not like him. And so did the rest of our family, and it just pushed her closer to him. And then when I kind of pulled away, and people eventually do show their true colors. If this guy is the same as the way that my sister's ex-boyfriend was, he eventually did show his true colors. And when she was done with him, I was the first person that she called. So just let her know that you're there for her, but don't, just from my experience, don't push how much you dislike him too hard, because it can just push her away from you and then force her to lean too much on him.
Yeah. And then you get trapped and tangled in that web, which is never fun. But yeah. I mean, you just gotta, bite your teeth. Bite your teeth? Bite your tongue. Don't bite, use your teeth to bite your tongue. I've gotten a lot better at biting my tongue about this stuff. Shall we go on to the next?
Hey, Megan. I'm 20 years old. I have been listening to your podcast since you first started, and I wanted to send in my own because I'm kind of in a bit of a predicament here. So pretty much I have been living with this group of people that are all I consider my best friends for just over a year now, and everything's been going pretty great in my opinion, but one day when no one was home, I went and stupidly read messages off of one of my friend's laptops between her and my other roommate, who have, I discovered, been talking shit about me for months. And I know I can't really confront them because I'd have to say that I went through her laptop. But I'm kind of wondering how to go about the situation because it's kind of made me like really angry and hold a lot of resentment against them without them even really knowing why and me being able to even explain why. I haven't done it since, but I know it was stupid of me to do, but I'm just kind of wondering what I should do in the situation, or just try and forget about it. I don't know. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. They've pretty much been just talking crap about me, about my relationship that has since ended, but have been talking about pretty much everything about me they've been talking shit about. I'm just wondering how to sort of go about this. And they've also been talking crap about my other two roommates as well, so I'm just sort of wondering what I should do. Any help would be great. Anyways, thanks. Love you. Love your podcast.
Wow, this is why roommates suck.
No, roommates can be great.
Living with friends.
Yeah, I've had
Don't
great
live
experiences.
with your best friends.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I lived with my best friend for 2 years and I loved it. Oh. But that was because it's not like it was perfect, but we were able to talk through any issues that we had. And that's kind of the key here, is that whatever these two girls have found to take issue with you, they're not bringing it up with you. And that's the part that's unfair. And also I'm so sorry. Like, what a horrible thing to think that you're getting along with all these people and find out that two of them are shit talking you, because they're also probably being nice to your face if you had no idea.
No, but you looked, so you knew something was up.
You maybe had some sort of inclination. But I think is you don't have to explicitly say that you think something's the matter, but casually, maybe in the kitchen when you're crossing paths or something, just say, hey, I was feeling kind of a weird vibe lately. Just wondering, do you have any issues with me? Is there something going on? Is there something I can be doing better? Are you bothered that I'm leaving dishes in the sink or something? Is there something going on that I don't know about, or I'm not aware I'm doing and you are bothered by? And if their response is to be like, oh my God, no, what are you talking about? We're fine. Then fuck them. They suck. And if they're not willing to take that opportunity when you're giving it to them to offer criticism to improve, then it's their problem. And what they're doing really is that they're using you and your other roommates as a bonding tool with the two of them.
Exactly.
Because people actually do bond by shit talking. It's like a weird human thing that we create a quicker, but not as solid, but a quicker bond between two people by saying negative things about other people. And so clearly that's how they're maintaining their friendship, is by shit talking the other people that they're living with. And I think that just shows kind of weak personality traits, to be frank.
I mean, I fully agree with that, because I think there is something to, like, and if I look at this in terms of like relationships, like when I talk shit on like Mott's or whatever to my friends, the stuff that I'm usually talking shit on is either A, something that like we've had arguments about and we've already discussed, or it's something that's like when you're talking shit and you're like, oh, it's so trivial. Like he has this one shirt that I have since thrown away because I think he listened to the other episode where I was like, I hate this one shirt. Or it's something that is so petty that it doesn't matter. So
or
like,
it's more generalized, like just to like, oh, when guys do this thing and then we're girls, so we get to go, yeah, annoying.
But I think like when it comes to like a relationship that involves like living together, like when someone's talking shit about you as opposed to like bringing something up to change, there usually isn't really anything to change because like that's on them. Like if it was something like, if it was a constructive thing of being like, oh, she never puts her dishes away. Those are things that if you read it, you would be like, oh shit, like I really should. And usually it's going to come from the fact that they've already said something and then you're not like they've already like put out what their issue is and there is no changing. And then they're talking shit. If they're talking shit without having talked to you about it at all, I don't think it's about you. Like you said, I think it is a bonding tool between them. And the fact that they're talking shit about the other roommate, like, A, that's just fucking messy. Like, you all live together.
Yeah.
Like, if you're friends...
This is what would happen if you start talking shit to the... Also, I think this says that those two girls don't have a lot of other friends because really, like, I totally get having to let off steam if you're like living in close quarters with a lot of people. You want to be able to shit talk sometimes just to get it off your chest. But if you can't even call a friend who doesn't live with you, I think you need to expand your social circle. Also, you're destroying it actively right now.
Yeah, I just think it's so incredibly immature and dumb. And it just shows how shitty of friends that they probably are. Because also know as much as shit they're talking to each other, I guarantee you they're probably talking shit about each other to other people. Like, it's just not a productive environment when you live with people and you're going to do that. And I think it just shows like complete carelessness of other people's feelings. And as much as like you identify those people as your friends, I don't think they haven't been treating like how people treat you behind your back, I think is like the most important thing. Like it just shows how they are. But that is so often a thing that you cannot measure. No,
you often don't see how people talk about you or treat you behind your back.
And we assume we hope it's good if we don't hear anything.
Yeah, there's a level of trust that usually goes into a friendship because you're assuming that they're on the same page with you and they're not treating you poorly behind your back. And for that, like, I really am sorry. This must have been such a shock. And like, it must make you feel so bad that there are these people that you genuinely liked and thought you were doing right by who are shit talking you. And I just want you to make sure you don't take it personally and realize also those other roommates are being shit talked too.
Don't tell them.
Yeah, but realize that it's not about you. It's about those two girls. And it's as long as you're doing everything to be a considerate roommate, then she's
not though. She went and looked on their computers.
But I think you have to have had like an inclination.
Yeah, that something was up.
And to me, that makes it seem like this might not have been as out of left field as you thought. And this might have been confirming your suspicions that like they weren't that great and that they were being kind of shitty and being kind of cold to you. And maybe take that as being like you know what? I cared enough in the moment before it was confirmed to like look because like it was obvious, like there was something there that made you want to look, and you have that confirmation now. And now it can be like, you know what? I'm not going to put as much time and energy into fostering a friendship, and I'm just going to treat them like roommates because that's what they deserve. But yeah, it sucks. I'm sorry. Having like roommates drama is by far the worst. Fuck these girls. Also, don't snoop.
Yeah.
Moral of the story, don't snoop from somebody who snooped all the time. Don't snoop, it's not good. I don't recommend it to anyone. Is it time for a break? Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back. Okay, guys, we're back from our break. What did you do? Okay, cool. Back to the calls.
Hi, I am 26 years old. I'm from Michigan, and I just have a question. So I am from a very large Catholic family, and I'm number 5, and I went to therapy probably like a year and a half ago because I was just extremely depressed. I had a lot of anxiety. So I'm number 5. I have 9 brothers and sisters, and number 10, so my youngest sibling, is just reaching out to me so hard. There's no way that I can walk away from the conversation without saying you need to talk to a therapist. But my mom is like this terribly old school Catholic woman. So she's like, oh, no, just fulfill some sexist rule and talk to a priest about it. So basically, I'm telling my youngest sister to go to therapy, but at the same time, my mom is mocking me to other people who I don't speak to. I have like no relationship with, about therapy in front of my younger sister. So she's not willing to approach my mom about going to therapy. But at the same time, she's always reaching out to me, talking about how depressed she is and anxious she is. And I just don't know how to help, because I've also talked to my mom about her going to therapy. And she just, I guess, essentially mocks me to my face. Like, it's not, nobody takes me seriously because I'm not as Catholic as everybody else. So I'm not sure how to help my sister, because I would just like claim her as my own child and have her go on my insurance. But my insurance is terrible, so I can't get her a therapist without having to pay $200 a visit. And I just don't have that kind of money.
I really like her voice. And also you're the nicest sister.
Yeah.
Like, this is so sweet and so nice.
And this is just, there's nothing more upsetting to me than parents letting down their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is just so shitty.
And you can't even work through in therapy if they're anti-therapy.
Yeah. Oh God, this is frustrating. I mean, I have a lot of feelings about religion. I didn't personally grow up going to church or having any close relationship with God or anything like that. But I also know some people who have had positive experiences in church. Not a lot of them, but like some people. And so I think within the community, maybe if you've got if she's got a good relationship with that priest, maybe like it's worth going to a couple meetings just so that mom can see that she's tried it. And then even maybe the priest, if they're like progressive, they can sort of suggest to mom, like, a professional would be a great person for your daughter to see. And then having it come from someone who's not you, even though she should trust you because you sound like a great person who's really learned a lot and has a lot of like insight into this. I don't know. The fact that she's mocking you is just miserable to me. I hate that.
It's that to me, like, that is just so shitty and sad, and also shows great, like, how great and strong that you are. Because I'm sure that, like, I mean, as somebody who goes to therapy now twice a week, like, it's not like you don't immediately decide that you're going to go. It's kind of like a slow, like, I'm gonna go. And the fact that I'm sure that she has been vocal in a negative way about therapy and mental health for your childhood growing up, and that you have grown up and been able to then see that that's not right, and then you're going to see a therapist. I think if that's any consolation, that your sister is coming from a very similar environment, that she doesn't, that as much as like she's young and impressionable and her mom is not being supportive, that doesn't mean that for the rest of her life that she's going to believe those things and not validate her feelings, because she is going to you. She's going to you, and she knows
you're a
that
great guiding light for her. She can,
and that you've not turned your back on the church community or anything like that, but that you have recognized that like mental health is something that needs to be prioritized and dealt with a professional.
Medical profestional.
There's a reason why that's a thing, and the fact that she's going to you, I think, is I know it's probably it feels like weighty on you to kind of when you're dealing with your own struggles with mental health, and then other people want to like lean on you or rely on you. It can be really hard
and you can feel helpless because you have a lack of resources in order to help her.
Yeah, because you have someone that helps you, and so then helping other people can feel like a lot, especially because you might not have all the answers, which I think,
or the money to help either.
Yeah, which I think is totally fine. I think keeping the line of communication with her open and just like having conversations. I think if that means like sharing any sort of like articles or resources that you find or that you read that have helped you, or any sort of like books or anything like that, like giving her content that she can, whether it's like a library card that she can read certain things with that, and doing those things. I think, I don't know if she goes to like a private Catholic school, it might be hard. But if she goes to a school where they have a counselor who, believes in mental health and not like, and like homosexuality isn't like the whole like pray your sadness and the gay away. If there is a resource at school, you can always go to her school with her, like after school, and be like, or even just talk to a counselor, because you are over 18 and like you are a family member listed, and talk to a counselor. And you can even, if you're concerned about her, like if there's something happening at school, not that I'm saying like rat it out or whatever, but like if you can have somebody who can be looking out for her at school. And I think a guidance counselor, I had the first time I ever was told that I had anxiety was from my college or my high school. We had like a college guidance counselor at my high school who like helps you get into college. She was the first person who told me that I had anxiety, and she just said it as this like very blasé sort of thing. Where I was like, thought I was dying because I came into her office and I just thought I was dying because I like couldn't breathe and I was crying and I was like hysterical. And it was literally over the fact that I didn't have any friends in my chemistry class. And I was like, I know it's stupid. And I was like losing my mind. And I was like, I just can't do it. If I can't do it, I don't know anybody. Like, I feel like a fucking idiot. And I was losing my mind. And she was like, you've got anxiety and you're very anxious about that. And that's a completely valid thing. And we're going to switch your schedule and we're not going to put you in this class because you don't have any friends in this class. And that's not, this is not how you can take this class. You can't take this class if you feel like this. And it wasn't like a buck up, feel better sort of thing. And it was the first time an adult in my life had like seen me panic and seen me like almost have a full blown anxiety attack and told me like, we're going to figure this out. Like, this is fine. We're going to solve this. And it was something that was to be solved. And I wasn't something to be solved. Like, it was a problem that made me feel a certain way. And it wasn't just don't feel that way. Like, we're going to go about this. So I think like, and her training specialty was like helping you get into college. So I think like, if you can talk to somebody at her school, that would be great. There are more like free, cheaper therapy. We always have them linked in the show notes for I think every single episode. Yeah.
I was also going to say that a lot of therapists have a sliding scale for payment. Yeah. That if you get in touch and you explain the situation and the fact that like financially it's just not feasible to pay their normal fee, they can offer you different rates. And they do that on purpose. So then like they want to be able to help people. That's their whole job. So even if you got in touch with your old therapist and said like, hey, I want to get my sister into therapy, either do you or do you know any of your peers who have sliding scale fees or could do like a small amount of time for free so that my mom can see like that it's actually helpful, and then like we can get it through insurance, whatever the case may be. Reach out to anyone you think can help you, because it shouldn't just be on your shoulders. And I can totally understand how heavy that must weigh on you to know that like your sister is reaching out to you and you alone. And like the fear, I think that's always a fear that you have when like you've got a friend or family member who's reaching out to you about their mental health. You worry constantly. Like anytime you're not in touch, you're like, I wonder how they're doing. Are they worse? Are they better? Like, what if I don't call them every 10 minutes and something happens in that time? Like, I want to make sure that I'm around all the time to help them. And that's so much stress to be on you. And like at 26 and also dealing with your own mental health stuff, like you should have other people by your side to help you. And really, it should be your mom. And I'm really sorry that she doesn't seem to take you seriously or believe you. But if you can find other people in the community who your mom trusts that are maybe more open to the idea of mental health work, and like either get your sister to tell you if there are certain teachers that she really likes who listen and understand, like even if it's not even guidance, like her math teacher maybe, even if they're just really receptive to the idea of talking about mental health. If you can get in touch with that teacher and get notes home or talk to anyone else that your mom might like respect their opinion, I think that's really going to be the key, because a lot of this too is just your mom's having weird shame about this. So she hates the idea that like her kids aren't perfect, and like if she doesn't believe that mental health is a problem, something that can happen and then can be fixed, like she is just trying to hide it. She doesn't want to think about it too much, and that is just not fair because it's putting you and your siblings in danger. And also, if it's just you and your sister, I feel like maybe some of your other siblings have had issues too, and they just haven't spoken about them. They've been too ashamed. And the fact that you have really been forward about it and enough that your sister knows that you are someone who's safe to talk to is really great and really brave of you. So I wish you luck.
Yeah.
We have a couple apps that sponsor this show, BetterHelp and Talkspace, that you can, I don't know if she has a phone or even if she uses your phone or iPad or whatever.
Touch?
No, iPod Touch.
iPod Touch.
But maybe you could download those apps for her and I think they are a lot cheaper than therapy. Talkspace also has an article on their website called Reconciling Religion and Therapy, why you can talk to God and a therapist. And so this might be something that I'll put it in the show notes. This might be something that you can share with your mom. One thing that they do, it's a very long article, but one thing that they do recommend is find a therapist who specializes in seeing religious clients. So that could help as well.
Yeah. That's a really good idea. And I would also say, I'm sure you've probably already done this, but on the off chance that you haven't, ask your therapist, like, if she has any, like, at least, like, anything that, even if it's just like a couple things that you're like, when my sister says something to me, like, I want, not that I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing, because there is no right answers. And like, your therapist obviously can't therapize your sister through you, but something that can help, help your sister keep the conversation open.
Yeah,
that
and give you some confidence that you know you're doing the right thing by her.
And doesn't make you feel, as my therapist always says, like, you never want to feel too exposed when you're dealing with therapy and you're going through like mental health struggles and everything like that. Helping other people and like sharing your own experiences is great, but it's when you have to do it in a way that doesn't leave you to feel so exposed and like triggered or anything like that. So a way that your therapist, who knows your history and everything like that, be like, is there something that I can say to my sister or should say to my sister? Or when she asks me something like this, what's something that I can say or do for her that's not going to put me in a really vulnerable and like worse mental state, but that will
not shut her down either.
And still keep that line, like keep that communication with you guys there in a way that makes makes it the reason why that she keeps coming back to you. And I also think, as much as your mom is like being super cold about this, I think in general, I mean, religion, I think honestly, religion aside too, I think people who have really, really, really strong feelings anti-mental health, like the existence of mental health, are usually people who have been silenced by other people in their feelings. And that is like a very repressed thing. And also a huge thing with like a lot of people who are older and like adults and things like that, who they never got help with therapy and things like that. And so there's a little bit of resentment of people who it's like, no, I turned out fine. It's like, but if you actually look at the whole history of this, right? But did you turn out, like, could your life have improved? Could your self-esteem have improved? Like your coping mechanisms, your relationship with yourself and other people, could it have improved if you had these resources? And is the reason why you're kind of anti this is because you feel like it's an unfair advantage, which is a fucked up thing, especially when it comes from a parent, because you want your parents to want what's best for you. But I think like you have done a great job at tuning her like ridiculousness out with all of that and still getting help and doing better because of it. And I think if your mom's not educated on depression and anxiety and suicide and these very, very real consequences of mental health being untreated, I think a lot of the time, and I also don't want you to do anything though that like, at least like for me, I would have a hard time trying to convince somebody, because I am so personally invested and it is your mom, and you don't want her to say something that when she says something negative, you're like, well, you're talking about me. And that can be like really like hurtful. But I think a lot of the time people kind of rely on, no offense, again, it's a lot of the times in religion, like on the people, it's like, well, you know what? Like he prayed the gay away and he's no longer gay. And it's these like she said, he said kind of stories, when it's like, let's look at the statistical facts of what happens when mental health is untreated. Like, let's take religion out of the picture. And also, what's the worst thing that could happen if your daughter's incredibly depressed and she's feeling really terrible? The worst thing that could happen by going to therapy is she feels better. Like, it doesn't mean that she's not gonna, and I think like suggesting like there are let's go, like she can go to a therapist therapist who like believes in all of this stuff, but like on the off chance that like no matter how great her relationship with God is and how much she prays, like she still feels really depressed. Like your child's happiness should be your number, and like your child's mental well-being should be your number one priority. And it sucks sometimes when people's pride and their own like small-minded beliefs get in the way. But you're obviously doing a really great job in therapy with yourself, because like this is like that's a very strong thing to do when nobody's
you still
telling
have
you
a
to.
relationship with your family, but you've also separated yourself enough for your own like
and from the people that you said that you don't have relationships with in your family who like I think that's also a really strong thing, and that you're a fucking amazing great sister.
Yeah. And I grew up in church and I had a good experience and stuff, and I still went to therapy, and I'm great.
She is great. She's thriving. That's not even sarcastic. I'm just jealous. Do we go on to the next?
Hi, Megan. I am 25 and from Utah. I'm going to try and be concise because I've tried to record this once and it cut me off. So I am dating this guy. We were friends for around a year and a half, and anyway, just became official probably around 3 months ago, and have been exclusive for that amount of time. I really like him. He's great, makes me laugh. However, I find myself really frustrated with the relationship sometimes, because I feel like I have to be fairly assertive when it comes to my needs. Like if something bothers me, I have to really bring it up and make a point of it in order for him to be considerate of me. Is that weird? So like in private, when we're one-on-one, he's awesome. But when it comes to public events that I'm going out to do or his friends, I can kind of be pushed to the wayside. For example, he hosted a birthday party for one of his friends last week at his place and didn't invite me. Or we were on a date
he's got
a couple weeks ago and he ditched me in the middle of it to go join a game night last minute. Granted, it's not something we'd planned before, that this was date night. We were just hanging out on a date. Or, like, I invited him to this concert, and he said he couldn't go because of funds, and then the next week spent $500 on a poster that he really wanted.
What?
Which was super lame, and I called him out for that, and he apologized.
Like that.
And that's what I struggle with, is that if I bring something to his attention and I'm like, hey, that really hurt my feelings, he's really good about fixing that specific circumstance and apologizing and moving on. But I do feel like I have to keep doing that, and I don't want to be a warden. I want to be a girlfriend. And I don't expect my mind to be read. Like, I'm vocal, but at the same time, maybe it's just a compatibility issue if I have to keep bringing these things up. Or do you think I'm blowing it out of the water? I could use another voice or two on this.
I don't know if you're his girlfriend.
I don't know if you're his girlfriend, and also he's not a man or a boy. He is a man-child. You know a man-child who might not be as exclusively dating you as you think that you are.
I mean, that's the most extreme possibility here, is that there's that you are the side chick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
or that you're all side. He doesn't have a main hoe, and you're all side hoes.
I think what you were right at the beginning of the call, I did think that you were the one overreacting when you said, like, I need to bring up when I'm bothered by something in order for him to know. Because I think that's important in a relationship. I don't think you can expect people to read your mind. I think you have to vocalize when you're bothered by something, and then like you guys can work it out. Because I live by the philosophy that no one does things to be purposefully malicious. I don't think that we, for the most part, set out to hurt our partners by doing something stupid. I think it's usually just that we're not thinking. But then when you continue to explain the circumstances, like he's the one in the wrong here. He's doing a lot of really inconsiderate things, and then kind of, in my mind, I would assume you're playing dumb by saying like, oh, I had no idea that would bother you, babe, because like those are outrageous things to do.
A date in the middle.
Man-child.
That's
but he also
ridiculous.
threw a party and didn't invite her.
Okay,
like, what excuse do you have? Like, oh, sorry. I mean, I know you know them, but like, you don't know them as well as I do, I guess. Like,
Yeah, and
what is the
they were
excuse?
friends for a year and a half before
There's
they
no
started
way she
dating.
didn't know those guys.
We got to break it down, though. First of all, I think that, like, just like you said in general, if something upsets you, you have to tell somebody. Nobody is going to be your mind reader. There are some things that Mats have done where he was like, oh, wow, really? And I'm like, of fucking course that pissed me off. Like, are you a goddamn idiot? Like, there are some times where just like your like wavelengths are completely crossed. And the idea that somebody would not know that would like upset you or offend you or hurt you, like you have to say it. And the thing that matters, though, from that is even if he has these really great, genuine apologies, so are the things that are happening because you've only been dating for 3 months. So let's talk about in that way. So these things, it's the mistakes that happen again after you've already brought it up. So like there are things like Mats used to. I don't love going out, surprisingly. And he knows that about me. So he wouldn't ask me to go out with his friends, but then I would get offended that he wouldn't ask me to go out with his friends. And so when I brought that up, if the next time he didn't invite me and I found out that they all hung out and I wasn't invited, it'd be like, okay, we've already talked about this. But if it's new things, that they're different things that like, he's not understanding, like, oh, well, no, I learned my lesson here and I now know that this upset you and this made you feel a certain type of way, which I never want you to feel, so I'm not going to do that again. Are these things isolated incidents or are the same things happening over and over again? Like,
yeah.
When you, like the examples that you gave, like, okay, so he had a party, threw a party for his friend and didn't invite you. Okay, so like the excuses can be terrible, but like
somehow he just made that absolutely idiotic mistake, genuinely was dumb.
Or it was just like all guys.
It was all guys, or it was like somebody, it was like one of the guy friends, they
like
all.
a group of friends who always used to hang out together, exclusively that group.
Or they planned for something else. Like it was one of those like last minute things that like has happened. Like I've had that when like people have had like birthday things or friend things where it's like, oh no, I was just hanging out with this one person. Then someone else found out that it was someone's birthday. Like, was it something that was kind of like, oh, they were on a text thread and it came together that night? Like there are like certain things that, like I don't want to make excuses for him, but the same thing when you're like leaving a date, you're like, we didn't say that it was date night. Like again, Mats and I have been in this position where we've been hanging out and then he's like, oh, my friends text me, I want to do something. And I'm like, oh, I thought we were like had a plan. And in my head, I'm like, well, I sat at home all day in my sweatpants and I was excited for you to come home because I thought we had, but like if you don't communicate what you're doing and what your intent for, like what the night you're going to do and have all of that stuff out, like, yes, you were hanging out, but like at the same time, if you guys were also friends beforehand, it is a hard transition to go from friends to dating.
This could be just growing pains, maybe.
Yeah, because it's the stuff that can sometimes go along with like you're hanging out with one friend, you're like, oh, cool, I'm like we're gonna all go to the game night thing, like super fun sort of thing, and you have to bring these things up in the moment, not the day after. If you have to bring it up in the moment because you're both fresh in it. It's if it's something that he says, it's not going to be like misconstrued and you're not going to think that he said something different and he's not going to be like, no, I didn't say that. And you're like, okay, well, if you said it 10 seconds ago, it's much easier for me to say what you said because you just said it. You have to bring it up in the moment because then if you stew on it, he can't he can just say he won't do it again, but he can't fix how you're feeling in that current moment. And it just, as somebody who stews on those feelings, like it just feels shittier and shittier and shittier. And it can feel really personal when it's not necessarily intended to be personal. But at the same time, my mind does automatically go to the fact that I don't know how much of the dating exclusively you guys are doing.
Yeah.
He either sounds like a complete idiot man-child, which
like has he never had a relationship before you or something? Like doesn't understand how it works?
Does this sound that different? Does this sound like so different than things that could have happened to people we know though? Because that's the thing that I'm like, I could hear my friends going on dates with guys or like dating guys who do this, and I'd be like, fucking man-child. Like,
yeah. When she said he ditched her during a date, I was thinking like they were at dinner and he just left. But if they were just at home watching TV.
And you were like, sure, okay, yeah, that's
fine. She did say like it was just
us hanging.
Yeah. And especially when you go from friends, like it is a much more lax relationship, and then you get into a relationship, and it's like, oh wait, because Mats and I were friends first, and it became like, we have to like plan to like go on dates and like do these things, and we can't just keep the same friendship that we've had going and like still like just have sex and have that be the only different thing. Which, like, to be honest, sometimes we're like, let's not date, let's just like be together, and this is easy too. But like you have to, express what you need in a relationship, and nobody's ever going to be psychic. It's going to be a learning curve. And I would say 3 months in is you're still really, really learning each other. And if he keeps making, if you keep being put into the same situations and he keeps doing the same thing over and over again, that's when I think whether he's an idiot for malicious reasons or he's just a fucking idiot, it's not worth your time. But I think like if you really care about him and he is making a conscious effort to like really change and you can see that, and it's not just like a great apology, it's like the next time something else comes up, you're like, oh no, this could have been an opportunity for him to do that same thing again, and he doesn't. He does the opposite thing. Then I think it's something that you just learn through. And
the thing with the concert and him buying the poster, I feel like it was probably like a concert he didn't want to go to.
Yeah. What is a $500 poster?
I don't know, but maybe he's been saving up for it.
Yeah.
And that's why he had the money for it, because he wanted it.
That's a man-child move, though. I have so many friends who like them and they're not together anymore, so whatever. But I had a friend who her ex, like he was very much like frugal as fuck, couldn't spend any money on like going out to dinner on dates with her and like doing anything like
or vacations together. He was like, no, I don't have
but
money.
Was spending thousands of dollars on like bro trips and like bros going out, like rounds of beer on me, and she was just like, what the fuck? And like
it's just priority.
It is, and it's an immaturity thing, especially when it comes with like guys who are younger. Like they don't think of they're not thinking of these things as being like, okay, this is my pot of
young, really.
Let's be real. That's true. I mean, but like when you think of your pot of money as like a guy, it's like, well, no, like I have like my going out bro money, but like I don't have just like a bunch of money like lying around to like go to a concert I don't want to go to.
He doesn't want to go to, and it's just a concert. The poster's going to last him for a while.
Yeah. And it's clearly of something he likes. If it was $500.
I also think like when it comes to like spending things, I don't think that you should have to spend a ton of money being in a relationship. I think like that idea and that aspect, like what on either side, whether it's like your significant other wants you to come along to all these things that you can't afford, or you want your significant other to come with you to things that they don't necessarily really like. Like when Mats and I want to go do something, if it's a concert that he really likes and I'm like, I don't know, he's probably going to buy my ticket. If like I really want to go to Casey Musgraves, I'm not going to make him pay $250 to go see Casey Musgraves. And he's like, that's the country girl who sings a song about following your arrow. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to make you spend $250 because that money to you, like I don't want to spend $250 to go see a fucking Clippers game. Like no offense, but I think like there are other certain things too. Like you can be excited to share your relationship with somebody, but I wouldn't take things like that necessarily super personally. Unless it's something that it's like, oh, it's a family event or a birthday or something. Like it's my birthday and I really want to go do something like this. And he's like, nah, I want to spend that money on me. But if it's something like I don't want to say the concert's trivial, but something that like
he didn't realize maybe how much it mattered. Or
and did you express how much those things matter to you? And also when you prioritize things, this is the big thing that I have with relationships. People are like, if there's something that's really important for you for someone to be at or someone to like participate in with you, that can't be everything.
Yeah.
And you should do that thing.
Yeah.
And that's where you guys need to like match up at.
And I think, there's right now you just kind of have to evaluate why he is so not considerate of you. Is it because he's just not used to it yet? He's not used to having someone else around to consider and to try to make happy by participating in the things that they like doing? Or is it really just because to him a girlfriend is someone who is available, who can cook and clean and be there to have sex with at night, and he gets to go have his own life still? Like, because there are, unfortunately, the society, that is sort of the way a lot of men can be. And I personally get super turned off by the idea of having to train a man to like be a nice person. But like if maybe it's just a question of him learning right now, or does he not actually want to learn and accommodate? Because the friend that we were just talking about, who's no longer with that partner, I think that's what their relationship really came down to, is that he did not want to compromise or change or do anything for her. He simply wanted her
to fit the mold.
Yeah, to fit into his life, and he never considered what it would be for him to fit into hers. And so that, I guess, is just now the question that you have to ask yourself is this relationship just in its early stages and we have to figure out how to grow together in order to make a good partnership? Or like am I just the girlfriend because out of convenience he liked being my friend and he thought like, oh, she's cool and chill and like I still get to live my own life, and wait, hold on, I get to have sex with her now? This is sick. Like, is that his thought process? I think it's just about figuring out what that is and also, you know, what you need. Because that's the important thing. Like you were saying, prioritizing what you need in the relationship in order to be happy.
And don't be afraid to ask for what you need. As somebody who my therapist is giving me the homework of telling me I have to figure out what I need in all the relationships in my life. And I'm like, I have no fucking idea. I can just do everything myself. And she's like, well, this is the issue and this is why we're here. But the idea when you're saying like, I want to be a girlfriend, I don't want to be a warden. This like the nagging girlfriend, like nagging wife, that fucking, just try, like get rid of that, because no matter who you date for the rest of your life, there are going to be things that you're going to ask from them, that you need from them. And a perfect relationship isn't somebody that you're not going to have to do that for.
Yeah, but it should be two people who can ask for stuff from each other.
And
make compromises in order to both grow and be better human beings, not a better wife or husband, not fitting into stereotypes, but just being better people for one another. Like with my parents, like my mom was more of a breadwinner than my dad for like certain years of their careers. And that meant that my dad would pick up slack and do some things that were like normally more of a female role in the house. And so it doesn't have to necessarily be that you just become more of like a female stereotypical partner. It's just about being better partners for each other.
Yeah. And being able to, I always say it's just not hurting each other unintentionally, because like you said at the very beginning, like no one, I don't, unless you're like a sociopath, I don't think you go out to like purposefully hurt someone. And I think so much of communication in a relationship and what you're asking for is, this is what this makes me feel. I know that's not your intention, but this is how it makes me feel. And usually it's like, oh wow, yeah, that was not my intention. And also I
had no idea,
it's
and
so
it's my
easy
last
for me to
priority
change
to hurt
that.
you.
Like it's not something that's hard to change. I also don't want to, hopefully we didn't come across too harsh, but I also just, I'm like really here for like tearing down the ideas that like movies have made about like relationships, because relationships are really hard. And asking for stuff is hard. But I think we should all, I don't know. I think we should trust the people or trust ourselves and our own taste in people, especially someone you've been friends with and you're in a relationship with. Like, know that like you probably saw something really good in him, and give him the opportunity and the time to show you that he is a stand-up guy and he can be considerate, and his being inconsiderate is him just like being a fucking doofus.
Yeah, but also don't stick around if the only thing he's delivering are words and not actions.
And if it keeps happening again and again, because that's someone who's just regurgitating what you want to hear and isn't actually acting on it. But yeah. Woo. Okay. Wow. This is time for, I should just have like a split screen where it's like me looking at you being like, this is
What's
the time.
it time
Like, this is time for Don't Blame Them. And this is when you guys, listeners, you guys call in and you give your own advice on previous calls and episodes.
Yeah.
Because you guys have opinions. You have more life experience. All of you, I've said this before, so many threesomes. All y'all bitches have had so many fucking threesomes.
I'm mad because I was not included in these conversations.
You guys didn't have a threesome?
Me out. No, I mean the conversations they were having. They were sending you messages.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a threesome. You should include me in it.
100%. If you're going to talk about your threesomes with me, you have to include Melissa in that. Just send it on the podcast one.
Yeah.
You can tell who's responding based on how it's spelled.
I usually put my initials at the end so people know.
M.
No, all my initials.
Okay.
All right. So this is from the episode with Alexi Wasser. There is a caller, the original caller. She was a teen mom. And she was debating if she should stay with her boyfriend that really wasn't contributing anything to their lives.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't had a baby yet.
No, she hasn't.
Whoa. And he already wasn't contributing.
Yeah. She didn't really, the thing, she really didn't want to be with him.
I think it was kind of like a Yasmin. They were kind of already like broken up.
All right. Here's the caller that's sharing similar experience.
Hi, Megan. I was just listening to that episode with Alexi, and a caller called in. She's going to be a teen mom, and I actually have some advice for her. My mom, actually, I'm not a teen mom. I'm actually not even a teen anymore. But my mom had me really young. And I recall I actually do have some memories of my biological dad being somewhat involved during the first few years of my life, but from what I've gathered, he's sort of like a deadbeat guy, and him and my mom weren't together, and she wanted to raise me on her own. So, yeah, I was raised by a single mom, and honestly, it was amazing. I really appreciate your advice for this caller and the other callers, because I know there have been a few parents who have called in saying that they were concerned about raising their child and not having both parents be involved. But honestly, if you have one stellar parent, I felt like that was really all I needed. I don't think it impacted my life in a negative way at all. I think what would have impacted my life negatively was if I had a shitty dad. And honestly, I felt my whole life like all I really needed was my mom. It was me and her. I had other family members that were super involved, and I totally agree with you about the fact that it's not really your parents who raise you, like the people who, like the sperm and the egg. It's really not about that. It's about the people who actually put in the time and effort and love into being a part of your life. And like I said, all I ever needed was my mom. And I really think that I'm just forever grateful that my mom chose to do this all on her own and didn't want to have someone who was sort of toxic be a part of my life. So, yep, that's my advice, is just to really to that mom and any other moms or dads, I guess, out there. If you're worried about including someone else, like having the other parent be involved just for the sake of your child having two parents, I don't really think that's necessary. I think it's all about just providing a really loving environment for your child. Thank you. Love Melissa. Love the podcast. Bye.
Oh my God. That almost made me cry.
That
That's
was
so
sweet.
fucking
Yeah, it's very
sweet.
sweet.
Oh my God. Can we send this clip to your mom? That's so
For
nice.
Mother's Day. Oh, it's after Mother's Day.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Never mind.
But it's just so sweet. That just makes me so happy. And yeah, I'm glad that that advice that I didn't come from a single parent household, but I'm glad that that's I don't know, that's what I would assume. And yeah.
No, that was really nice. And I know a lot of people who were raised by single parents, and I think often it was trying to either keep in touch or get in touch with that parent who wasn't around was the most harmful part of their childhoods. And it was only when they stopped trying to have that person in their lives that they realized they didn't even need them. And I think you bring up a good point that it doesn't have to be, it's the most crucial thing is not having two parents around. It's about having people who care about the child in the child's life. And that is the most important part. And to the original caller, I hope you're feeling a little bit more confident with your choices and what you're going to do in the future. And I hope you have family and friends around who will support you and help you, because you don't need this dude who is not even pulling his weight before there's a baby. That's crazy.
He can't pull his weight. He probably weighs 85 pounds. Very small. small teen boy. Teen boys are very small. But yeah, that makes me happy. And I'm so happy that you and your mom have such a great relationship, because it's so very true in the sense that again, like you said, knowing friends who came from single family households, when the kids, my peers, got old enough to be you know what, I don't want to do the reaching out so much. It was oh, I'm not disappointed when I'm but if it's I'm reaching out because I think that I'm supposed to have this figure and then someone's letting me down, but it's you don't that figure doesn't need to be that person. And I don't know, needing or not, I don't want to say needing, but trying to chase someone down to fulfill a role without them doing it on their own accord, that doesn't always feel as good. It feels more of an obligation and less of somebody who just wants to be there. Yasmin Switzer's boyfriend, Logan. Logan?
Yes.
Yeah, Logan. Yeah. Wow, we know way too many Logans. We're also putting a stop on people named Megan and Melissa because there's just too fucking many of us. Yeah, it's confusing as hell. But yeah, just like that. When someone wants he's not even Layla's dad. Guys, you gotta watch her. She's amazing. I'm obsessed with her. Okay, well, that's it for our episode. Oh my God.
Are you sure you guys don't? We can just do another one.
Just
right?
back to back. Well, I was going to tell everybody where they can find you. I could also probably just list off all of your socials.
Yeah.
Are you Aislinn Paul on Twitter or just Aislinn Paul?
No, just my name on Twitter and Instagram. If you can't spell it, sorry. I mean, I could do it. AISLINN.
It's also in the notes. Yeah.
And if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be right there in the title.
It's right there.
Cool.
Aislinn Paul. Maybe for this picture, I'll just Photoshop for the thumbnail. I'll just Photoshop a picture of me when I was really young, when people told me that I was Claire from Degrassi. And we'll do that side by side. Well, if you want to follow Melissa and I, our socials are always listed down below. The podcast, Don't Blame Meme Pod. If you are listening to this and you want to watch the video version, you can watch on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube and you want to listen again in your car, because that's where all y'all's, or on the bike, a treadmill, walking, what are the things you do?
Call in the car.
All y'all, but you do
stop
use a turn signal, which is great, but you need to stop doing it. It is not safe.
Yeah,
you can,
and we can't hear you that well.
And if you get pulled over, let's talk about if you get pulled over and the cop is like, "I'm sorry, were you distracted?" And you're like, "I'm leaving a voicemail for a podcast." Sure, it might not technically be illegal because it is hands free, but it is considered distracted driving, and I don't. Like, as much as Don't Blame Me, like, hold us against, like, you guys getting mad at us, I don't know if that works for the police.
Right.
So, do us a solid and pull your car over.
Pull over, turn the car off, then make the call.
Yeah. Yeah. The turn signal always gets me. And it's like, and I'm like, you're making a left, aren't you? Yeah. You're making a left. You're pausing. You're trying to figure out what to say. And you're like, oh, okay, we're good now. Well, guys, that's it. If you want to be on an upcoming episode, give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And if you're an international listener, Canadians and other places, I'm just doing it for you. I mean, we do love Canadians here. You can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. And then we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye. Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts. Camera operator Amanda Lechner. Production assistance by Julie Carley. And music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso, part of the HerPod Network.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests to share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go Network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Listening to a podcast should be time well spent, and I promise it will be if you'll give this podcast a try. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in every episode, I talk with leading experts on topics I know you will find fascinating. From why people can't keep secrets, what your favorite music says about you, why your pet acts in strange ways, and so much more. Something You Should Know is designed to give you information you can use in your life and give you great intel that you can share with others. I'm told it's a binge-worthy podcast, and with over 1,000 episodes, there's a lot to binge on. Something You Should Know has been ranked in the top of the Apple Podcast charts consistently for a long time. I know you're going to like this. I just need to get you to try it. Something You Should Know. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts.